What is up, YouTube? Today I'm going to be reacting to an Asmongold video where he's talking about the comparison between Pokemon games and Palworld. I actually have played every single Pokemon game that's ever came out since the beginning, since the very first Pokemon Red and Blue in 1998. I was 10 years old back then, and I've played every single main series games to date, and I will continue to play every single Pokemon main series game that they ever released. I'm going to be objective about the situation, and I'm going to actually take my opinion, and I'm going to give an honest opinion about a lot of the things that he's reacting to about the game Palworld. Palworld, if you don't know, is a new game that actually just came out on Friday, on January 19th. It is a new monster catching game. So the game kind of plays more like an Ark survival or like a Minecraft style type of game. You know, it's gonna be a lot of crafting, you know, worry about hunger, base building, things like that. And then they also have monsters that you can catch as well within the world. So it's actually a pretty good game. I actually have been playing Palworld since its release as well. So I'll be able to give both sides of opinions from playing Palworld and playing Pokemon and the similarities and the differences. So I'm actually pretty excited to watch this video to see what they're talking about in this video.
I can copy your homework, sure, just make it look different so it doesn't look like you copied it. So if I were to say that Twitter is mad about Palworld, that would be an understatement. I've cataloged a number of tweets of people who are unhappy about the outcome of this game being successful. So anyway.
Yeah, actually, there has been a big thing about that. There's been a ton of people on Twitter and everything that has been going off. People in the Pokemon community have been commenting on the similarities of Palworld and talking about how Palworld ripped off Pokemon of a bunch of different ideas. IGN actually posted a video, not a video, but made a post about this on their website as well as Twitter and things like that. It's about bringing up some of the people on Twitter posting their screen names and everything, showing some of the things that they were saying, like people in the Pokemon community just, you know, bagging on Palworld. And so some of those Twitter users have already been attacked by people online who, you know, saw their name on that post and started coming in and started attacking them and things like that. You know, IGN has like a bunch of followers and things like that, so I kind of think that they could have blurred out some of those people's names, but I mean, to each their own. I mean, it is what it is, but it has been something that's been crazy to see.
Palworld has become one of the biggest and fastest selling games of all time, and it reached a peak of over 1 million people. And just to put this into perspective and context of how big that is, how many people that is, let's look at a 24-hour peak right now of let's see here, all-time peak. So this is all-time peaks for all games of all time. So PUBG is the GOAT with 3 million online players at a time. And then Palworld is beating out Cyberpunk, Elden Ring, New World,
That is incredibly impressive. Absolutely impressive. That is something to take note on. Now, what I will state, as these are obviously just the Steam charts, so we just always want to make sure we put that into perspective and keep that in mind, that this is not like every single game that's ever come out, because not every game comes to Steam, you know, so that's why you don't see any Nintendo games on there or anything like that. This is why. So every Steam can check all these things. This is still an incredible feat that Palworld was able to do at the very beginning of its release. So will that get any higher? Who knows? But as of right now, that's still very impressive. And I know a lot of people in the Pokemon community want this thing to fail, and maybe not a lot, but there's a bunch of people who do want this to fail. But you cannot deny that. That's very impressive to have that be in the top 5 already. And it's an early access game, and it was just released. Impressive.
Hogwarts Legacy and Baldur's Gate 3, all at the same time, while it is being also on Game Pass. Think about how fucking ridiculous that is. This is incredible.
It's crazy.
And so if you look at this right here, you can see obviously people are loving this game. You look at the
I'm currently playing the game. I've been playing it since release, and it is fantastic, man. I do like this game. It's a very good game. They've done a really good job with it. I'm impressed with it. I'm enjoying it every single bit. So they got a good game on their hands. That's been early access. So I mean, only time will tell if they're gonna keep, you know, going through it and making it even better. But so far, so good. I've been having a blast, man. And I've played every single Pokemon to date, the main series game, and this, I'm not comparing it to that, but this is a very good game for what it is.
charts, the numbers are good. You look at everything else, the numbers look very good. But if you look over at their Twitter, has sold over 3 million copies. How much is the game? The game is what? $30, right? So it's like that's like $90 million.
You can't beat that either. $30 off rip, and they already have, you know, this many people playing the game. That's fantastic. It's not a full release game at $59.99 or anything like that. And they've already this is one of the most famous games going on right now. This is one of the most popular games. This game right now is on everybody's timeline. You're seeing about it. All different types of content creators are playing it from all different genres too. This game is doing pretty well.
Let's say it's only $50 million. That's insane. In 40 hours. Oh my God, it's now 4 million. Is that right? Let me take a look at it right now. 4 million PAL tamers in only about 3 days. God fucking damn.
That's crazy as hell, man.
Oh my God.
Yep.
4 million. This could have been Nintendo, but they lost it.
I kind of want to talk about that real quick. Let me just go ahead and start cooking real quick. That's my problem. That's my problem with Nintendo. The fact that person just chatted that and said that, it's a very true statement, because when you really think about it, like, Nintendo at a point right now with Pokemon is at a point that they've never been to with any video game before. Maybe Smash Brothers to a lesser degree, but they didn't even reach the highest peak of that potential. Anyway, the point with Nintendo is right now, Pokemon is in a level to where it's too big. It's bigger than what their console can handle. The type of game that needs to come out for Pokemon going forward needs to expand, and Nintendo doesn't have the hardware to do it. That's the problem. And so that's why you get Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. If you are a Pokemon player, you understand what I mean when I say that. If you don't play Pokemon, let me just put it into perspective. There's a lot of things that they had to cut back on to make the game run the way that it did, and it still doesn't run well, and they were still cutting things back. Like, you're not entering any buildings anymore in this Pokemon. Everything's just like an open-faced game. There's no buildings you're really going into. All that type of stuff, if you've ever played Pokemon, are all gone, and you can't even interact with all the people that are standing in the world. Sometimes you'll just hear people chatting in the background, and they'll show like little chat bubbles and things like that. For me, it's definitely not one of my favorite Pokemon games. I don't think it's ran well, and a million people have said that already. But Nintendo now is in a point where they need to have bigger hardware to produce the level of a game that Pokemon needs to have. Now it's like Pokemon is the only IP that they have like that. Zelda is getting bigger, and it will eventually get to that point, but it's not there yet. And Mario doesn't need to ever expand too much outside of their normal range that they have, but Pokemon is a game that's going to require a lot of just power. That's the thing. Pokemon is definitely now evolved into this state to where you have to compete with all these open world games and things like that. Palworld is already showing you that Pokemon's going to have to start to change and evolve, which they are evolving, but it's just like the increments that they're doing it is only based on the Switch's hardware, and right now it can't do that much. So this is going to be important going forward, man. I just want everybody to keep tab of that. Let's go back to the video.
That's right. They served a need in the market, and the market responded, much to the dismay and dissatisfaction of a lot of people on Twitter. There have been a number of people who have been furious at the fact that Palworld is successful. And the funny thing about that
is true. And if you look at these two right here, he's looking at somebody comparing the Palworld, Pal versus the Galarian Meowth. And yes, there are some similarities. And if you played Pokemon before, you will definitely notice the similarities. To me, it doesn't really bother me that much, because I look at this and say, you can tell that they were influenced by Pokemon. That's what they wanted. They wanted their monsters to look like Pokemon. And everybody else that has a monster catching game, from Temtem to Digimon to Dragon Quest, all these other games are always trying to be different. They're always trying to look so much different. But Palworld hit the nail right on the head. Boom, right? And so now they've made a game that actually looks similar to Pokemon as far as the monsters are concerned. Every other game always tries to differentiate themselves with that. And that's why they've become niche. That's why Digimon is niche. That's why Temtem is niche. And that's why Dragon Quest Monsters is niche, is because they're not really hitting that main area that really appeals everyone to Pokemon. Because the thing about Pokemon is that they are cute creatures, and then they look the way that they do, right? They're not just these super tough just monsters that people are catching. They're really personable looking things. So that's one thing you got to keep in mind, man. I'm just saying.
Nobody really cares about the minutia of how a game is created. Nobody cares about the process. Nobody cares about the tools used. Nobody cares about who worked on it. Nobody cares about any of these things. They only care about the final end user product.
That's all that matters, right? That's all that matters. As a consumer of a product, I don't necessarily need to know the story of how this product was given, like how it was created and given to me. I'm a consumer. I'm not buying it at this particular state. Am I? No, I'm not buying it as in the puzzle that needs to be put together. I'm buying the picture that's already done, that's already created, that's already just perfect, that's ready for me to take it, right? So I don't need to sit here and figure out how many hours it took you guys to do this. How many hours did it take to do that? How many hours did it take to do this? It's all irrelevant. People just want to consume the finished product. Think about a movie. When you watch a movie, you don't want to say, "Oh, did it take you 1,000 hours to make this? 2,000?" You don't care about that. You just want to watch a fully fleshed movie that's cut correctly, that's edited smoothly, that has great acting and all these things, right? You don't want to sit here and care about, "Oh, well, how did this do this?" and "Oh, how did this do that?" And yeah, that's why they do have behind the scenes type of content, but that's not mainstream. That's something that the hardcore fans can go see 30 minutes of what it was like. But no one really cares about the entire process. Most people don't. We just want to get the finished product. When you go to McDonald's, you just want the finished product. I don't really care about the story about how his arm was hurting with this and this and this and this. People just want their food. I just want my food and I want it to taste good. That's it. I don't really care for the story behind it. That's what consumers do. We just consume things. We don't really need all that talk. We just want what we're paying for at the end of the day, or watching, or whatever it is.
Too long have we lived in the shadow of waiting and hoping for Twitter approval for a game to be made. Too long have we sat around and hope that, oh, I really hope the gaming journalists like this one. I hope the outspoken tastemakers on Twitter approve of this.
Yeah, the reason why that's important is because that's just a very, 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 very small group of people. That's just it. There's just a small group of people. There's no big deal about that. It's just a small group of people. We don't really care about this one little small group that's going to sit here and complain and bitch about this whole situation. They don't care about that. Look, they got 4 million people that have played their game. And then you got the 1,000 to even 100,000 people, maybe like 50,000 people or something like that online that might not like it, that are actually actively publicly posting about they don't like it. It's way too small of an idea. They don't care about that.
And every single day, it dies even more. And that's why people are mad about Palworld, is because it proves it. It proves that you can be completely right, you can have the moral authority, and none of it really fucking matters. Because the user doesn't really care.
They don't.
And neither do the people making the tweets either. And I think that everybody's starting to realize that. Hogwarts Legacy was the ultimate proof. You're right. This is just this is just another example. They just want attention, being mad for clicks. That's right.
Actually, yeah, that is true. Because Hogwarts Legacy was a big issue. You know, that was a big thing that happened in the gaming community, and people were talking about they weren't going to buy that game and all this other stuff, and people still bought the game. People still played the game. It's got really good reviews and stuff, you know, but it is what it is, man. I mean, at the end of the day, publicly people want to act like they want to have all this outrage about certain things, and, you know, and secretly they don't. They'll still buy it, still play it, still enjoy it.
There are over 800 Pokemon. How the fuck do you make something completely original anymore? Who cares? Why does anybody care about if something's original? I don't care about that. I just want it to be fun. If it's a fun game, I'll play it. Like, I don't give a fuck.
That's all that matters. That's all that matters. At the end of the day, it's not about, at the end of the day, it's all about that. Is the game fun? I mean, whether it's super original or not original, they just want to play a fun game. And here's a funny thing about the Pokemon community: there's people who play emulated, fan made games of Pokemon, right? And Nintendo hates that. I don't care what anybody thinks. Nintendo absolutely hates that. The Pokemon company absolutely hates that. And how you know that is because they're already slowly trying to crack down on people playing ROMs and things like that on YouTube. Now, they don't want anybody to customize their game for any reason. They don't want their game to be touched at all. So Nintendo doesn't like that. And what people do is they go in and they fix some of the things in Pokemon to make them better, more enjoyable. They make them tougher, and other people will download them and play them, and they will enjoy them. Nintendo hates that. They absolutely hate that. And so you have to keep that in mind. Even within the Pokemon company and the Pokemon gaming community, there's already aspects within themselves that they're dealing with. You already have to deal with people who have to make fan-made games in order to bring Pokemon up, because it's lacking in content. It's lacking in things being fun. A lot of people who play Pokemon are people who've been playing it for 10, 15, 20 years. So that's why they want things to keep getting better. That's what they want. They want everything to just keep getting better.
I mean, you really think the Pokemons are original? Like, look at Gyarados. It's just a sea serpent. Like, what the fuck is this? Like, look at Dragonite. That's just a Chinese dragon. Like, come on, what is this? Like, look at Diglett. It's just a turd. Like, it's a turd. Like, look
Let
at
him cook.
Doug Trio. It's 3 turds. Like, the Executor is just a fucking tree that's got a face on the coconuts. Like, Bulbasaur is a turtle.
What did I say?
It's a blue turtle. Wait, you really think this is some kind of fucking... You really think they're reinventing reality here? It's Squirtle. Squirtle. I was thinking of Squirtle. My bad. Yeah, Bulbasaur is just a... Bulbasaur is actually kind of unique and cool, to be fair. He is. But, you know, that's just the way it is. That's 1 out of 150. Nobody really gives a shit about this kind of stuff. Everybody, because like Dragon Quest apparently I think came out before Pokemon. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. I don't know. And they got all the same things. Like, wow, somebody, can you believe? Oh my God, that somebody made a caterpillar? Holy shit! Somebody made one of those little shellfish things. Wow.
Yeah, see, I kind of want to talk about that. See, if you look at this right here, even look at that. Look at the similarities between Dragon Quest, and then look at the similarities with Pokemon. You look at this stuff. You could just look at it right here. There are a bunch of similarities, but why are the Pokemon community not making a big deal about that? Because Dragon Quest is niche. Dragon Quest just released a game. They released a Dragon Quest monster Joker game, a taming, the monster catching taming game, and it's okay. It's doing okay. I mean, like it did okay, but it didn't take the gaming world by storm, because everybody looked at this and said, oh, okay, you know, it's Dragon Quest. It's already kind of like a small little niche kind of community, and you know, look at their monsters. I do like Dragon Quest and the Dragon Quest monster series, but at the end of the day, like, it just doesn't appeal. Look at how those monsters look, and look at how Pokemon look. Look at how serious, tough, scary these monsters look. These monsters are not mainstream. These monsters are not going to sell you anything. They're not going to be on shirts. They're not going to be on things like that. But look at Dragonite. Dragonite right there is a big dragon. He has like that doofy kind of look to him, but that's why people love it. They love Pokemon because of that, because they can have a little bit of scariness to them, but then they also have like this this relaxing, like, you know, it appeals to more people that way, because, you know, kids, adults, women, men, they can all agree to that. They can always like that, right? But you look at something like Dragon Quest, it looks a lot different. That's why their monsters look like what did they do? And then you look at Pokemon, it just looks different. They look a lot more friendlier in Pokemon. That's just how it is.
And somebody made a duck? Oh my God, there's a duck in there. A platypus, oh my God. And somebody thought to make a ghost too? Wait, there's a dog that's on fire. Wait a minute, hold up. You telling me that only one person can own the idea of having a crab with eyes on it? A crab? What? Bro, I thought Nintendo had the copyright on crabs.
Bro, for real, that's what it's like. That's what people.
There's probably other people that do, but it's not Nintendo.
Have been doing that. Like, that's the thing. Like, people on Twitter have been, and Reddit too. Like, people have just been going at Palworld, just just trying to shit on them like that, because it's just, they're mad. A lot of the people, some of the people in the Pokemon community, I'm saying a lot, some of the people in the Pokemon community are just trying to rip the designs. It's not really that serious. There are going to be similarities, but it's not really that serious to you to be like, we shouldn't play this game. Because some of the things that I was reading on Twitter, people were saying things like, oh, we should boycott this game, don't play this, don't give them our money, don't do this, and stuff like that. I'm just kind of like this. Look, at the end of the day, the only thing you're realizing is you're hurting yourself in the long run. If you are able to play this game, if you like games that are similar to this, I recommend you just trying it. Play it, have an open mind, try it out. You hate it, but give it a try and see if you actually like it, and you might actually enjoy it. And that's the thing. Nobody on Twitter, nobody on Reddit, nobody in these spheres that are talking about all this stuff, you guys aren't paid by the Pokemon company. They're not paying you to defend their game to the day you die. Now, if they are, then yeah, defend it to the day you die. You're getting paid to do so, go ahead, die with the ship. I get it. But if they're not paying you, there's no need for you to be worried about Pokemon so much and laying like, I'm not gonna play this game and all, there's no need for you to be so big and take some kind of moral high road, because at the end of the day, you could be missing out on a fun experience that you can experience. I play Pokemon games and I can still play Palworld and have a great time with both. I don't have to make this big political issue about whether or not they copied them or not. They obviously didn't. Nintendo would have shut this thing down the moment they would have released any kind of video. So they're not going to be sued. All I've been seeing is that this company's going to get sued. If Nintendo wanted to sue them, they would have already done it. It would have already been done. This game would not have been released, and they would not have released it with the price. That's for damn sure. So if Nintendo wanted to get this game, they would have done it already. Or the Pokemon company, all of them, they would have done it already. So I don't understand why people are just so hell-bent on trying to just trash this game for no reason. Stop being a fanboy, a fangirl. You can do both. Don't have allegiance to a company that just gave you Scarlet and Violet, and understand that if they cared about you as much as you think you care about them, just look at Scarlet and Violet. Okay, they released you that product and left it that way even with the DLC, they left it the same way that it's been from release. Okay, it got a little bit better, but it was still bad. So that's all I want to say is stop bleeding Pokemon. That's all I want to say.
Nintendo, here's the reality, guys. Of course this shit's stolen. No fucking shit, it's stolen. Duh.
Like,
that's why it's good, because people know that one works, man.
Yep.
Mic issue's been getting worse. Yeah, you're right about that.
Exactly.
Let me take it down a little bit. The point's backwards. Dragon Quest is older.
Think about the Popeye's chicken sandwich thing. This is the best analogy I have for it. When the Popeye's chicken sandwich was like a huge thing in America, okay? If you're from America, the Popeye's chicken sandwich was like a big deal. You had lines at Popeye's. People were driving and trying to get this damn chicken sandwich. What did McDonald's? What did Jack in the Box? What did all these other fast food companies start doing? They started coming out with a chicken sandwich. Why? Because that was the hot item that everybody wanted to get. Everybody wanted this Popeye's chicken sandwich. So then all the other companies, what did they start doing? Releasing chicken sandwiches. You know why? Because they realized people really want a chicken sandwich. So everybody released their own version of a chicken sandwich that had all like the similar ingredients to the Popeye's chicken sandwich. That's exactly how everything works. And so what are you going to say? I'm not going to try the Jack in the Box chicken sandwich because Popeyes has a chicken sandwich. I'm not going to try the Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich because Popeyes has a chicken sandwich, and I'm loyal to Popeyes. That's exactly what it sounds like. So think of it just like that. You don't do that with food, so I don't understand why you're going to do that with something like a video game. Go ahead and play the game unless they pay you. If they're paying you not to like it, then don't like it.
Social media users negatively highlight its creator's history with generative AI tools. Cry me a fucking river.
Yep.
You think anybody actually gives a fuck about this?
No, they don't.
You think I give a fuck if they use generative AI? Absolutely not. Who cares about if they're...
No one cares. And if they did, if anybody cared about that, no one would... Let's not sit here and act like we care about everything has to come from a human. All we care about is the end result. I don't care how we got to this point, because just like... Even anime, everything is hand-drawn right now, but when they're going to have AI that's going to be able to just create these things on their own, and they're just going to use AI to create all your favorite animes and all this other things, if they're not already doing that now, and they're going to be creating everything. They're not going to draw anything. They'll draw one main thing, have the machine learn how to draw like this particular art style, and they're going to make a whole show just out of that. Is there anything wrong with that? I don't need to sit here and say, I'm going to watch Dragon Ball Z because they hand-drawn every single thing. Now, if a machine can recreate that exact thing and still give me a great story that looks the same like it's always looked, I don't really see what the issue is, because when you think about it, does it matter? I don't care whether it came from any of that. So at the end of the day, people don't really care. People don't care about that. They don't care whether it's AI, human-based, or something like that. They want to try to have this fake outrage like they care, but they don't. We don't really care. We just want to play something that's good. That's all we want to do. We want to play a good video game. That's it.
Using AI. No real people care about this.
Nope.
These are Twitter problems. There's the proof right there.
100%.
Nobody really gives a shit.
Nope, they don't.
All this fucking moral high grounding. God, oh bro, like I need to go on the next Scuff podcast, like bro, like oh my god, like I next time Train does it, like I'm gonna go off, like about this. I cannot wait. Hopefully we get some other people on there, and I feel like they're gonna say the same shit that I am, because like how dare you have fun? Yeah, exactly. Like it's moral fucking high roading, and I feel like companies have been so afraid to do it. And you want to know what the fun?
And that's the thing, because what they're doing is these people are trying to act like a lot of the things that they were saying online was like, well, what about the artists that created these Pokemons and all this other stuff? The artists, man, AI is going to take their jobs, and they're no longer going to be able to create new Pokemon for us. What's happening right now in the world we live in? What are they trying to do? They're trying to have automized big rig trucks drive themselves. And so, yes, there's no longer going to be a need for drivers to drive across America and be away from their family. That person will now have to learn something else to do and get another different style of job. So instead of missing their entire family all their life, they'll be able to be there with their family and get a different job. But why are we doing that? Why do they want cars to drive themselves? Because then I no longer have to wait in traffic, because guess what? Now we can have the car drive itself. So now a person doesn't have to spend their entire life just driving this car from point A to point B. It'll just drive itself. So now we're saving that person time. Yes, that person's going to get a different job. There will be more jobs created because of this, and that's just all I'm saying. And everybody's worried about that. But think about it. Everybody, as the world's growing up, everybody's gotten smarter. Everybody's adapting. That's what humans do. So let's not sit here and talk about we need everything to be human made. No, we don't. We're finding ways every day to simplify the things so humans ain't gotta do things, okay? That's exactly what we're doing now.
No fundamental difference in AI art generation and artists taking inspiration from other art on the internet. Is that stealing? I would actually agree with this, and I know this is going to get a lot of artists mad at me, but I'm going to say it. I also agree with what this guy's saying, that there is no fundamental difference between AI art generation and an artist taking inspiration from other art on the internet. I really actually think it's the same thing. Now, if somebody thinks it's not, I'm willing to read an argument of why I'm wrong. But from so far, I haven't seen an argument that I feel like convinces me. I don't think it's that different. Ask an artist. Well, I don't care who they are, right? Obviously, artists have a bias in one direction, but an argument is either true or it's not true.
Yeah, because it's the same thing. Because just like how you could go into ChatGPT and you can describe it something, it'll create an image for you. You can put an image of Mario into it and say, I want you to create something like this, but do, X, Y, and Z, and it'll create you another image based on the reference that it had you provide, right? So that's why I look at this and say, that's the thing. It doesn't really matter how we get to point B. We got there. I don't care if you fly. I don't care if you take a train. I don't care if you ride a bike. I don't care if you walk. You got there. That's all that matters. If I need to know the lore of it, I can learn the lore of it. But whether or not we got to this point, we got to the finished product, I'm fine with it either way. It's still good.
And it's kind of wild. People take away from this stuff. Something like, right, standing with creatives. How much people look away from this stuff. It's something like, right, especially after all the talk about standing with creatives. So this person is coming to the realization that nobody really cares about these problems. And I'm going to go ahead and read what this guy is saying. Like, genuinely, a lot of people I respect are looking the other way because it's popular or fun. Everyone is so quick to point out when people can't keep a small inconvenience for a greater truth. How is this any different? As an artist, this is all a real disappointment. I specifically wish this wasn't Pokemon related so people would actually notice this was a much bigger deal for gaming or anything creative, as rather than it's just fandom wars. That being said, it's a good thing fans were involved in pointing out this very obviously an issue, because it's both sad and frustrating that seemingly almost no gaming professionals media decided to themselves. This person has a
Before I let Asmon talk about that's the thing I kind of want to talk about somewhat about this, is they're trying to make they're making it like a bigger issue on like just artistry being copied or whatever the case may be, and you just have to understand that everything is copied. Everything is copied. Everything gets copied. If somebody sees something that's successful, people are going to copy it. That's just it. That's just the way of the world. The world has always worked like that. Whether it's art, whether it's music, no matter what it is, you can even to every single detail, anything that ever works, people will copy it. There's a copy of every single thing. There is a copy of Metal Gear Solid. There's a copy of all these things. Anything, you can look at anything. There's copies. That's just how it is. When something is successful, that's what people do. Look at YouTube. You ever heard of the term the Mr. Beastification of YouTube? Look at YouTube. How there's a million people who want to be Mr. Beast. You can see a lot of channels who got influenced by Mr. Beast, and you can see it on the entire platform. It's just the way that the world works. People emulate things. They emulate things that are successful. So what are people going to do? If they're smart, they're going to emulate Pokemon. What other companies have been doing is they've been going against the grain. They've been trying to create their own version of it, and it's just not working because it's too far different from Pokemon. But if you make things kind of look similar, then people already have a familiarity to it. They're like, okay, I kind of know something about Pokemon, or I play Pokemon, whatever it is. And that's the thing, is they took something that you were kind of familiar with to get you into their world. And when you get there, you're like, hey, this is pretty cool that I can do all these things and I can catch these monsters and have them work for me and help build my base up and defend my base. And this is cool, actually. This is actually a pretty good concept. You like it. That's the main thing. Now, as far as like art being copied, artists, you guys know this. You've been doing it from day one. Everybody copies. That's just what's gonna happen. That's just life. That's just what people do. That's what humans do. It's all about copying. That's just it. That's just the way it's going to work until the very end. Anything that's successful, people are going to copy it.
A very distorted view on what reality is. And I want to explain why.
Let's see what he says. Let's see what
So, I'm thinking, like, should I make a chart for this? No. I think I'll just explain it. You see, gaming media and, like, gaming, like, journalists and stuff like that, they exist on the backs of the customer. They exist to the extent that what they say resonates with the customer. If you're publishing a bunch of bullshit that nobody agrees with, well, then people are going to stop reading what you have to say.
Yep.
Like, that's just how these things go.
Yeah.
And so why are people writing positive articles about Palworld? Well, it's because people like Palworld.
The game is good. That's the thing. When Pokemon Scarlet and Violet came out, what did everybody do? They memed the hell out of that game. It got bad reviews. People trashed the game. Not because they were just picking on Pokemon. It was because the game was bad. That's the difference. See, with Pokemon and Palworld is this is a good game. This is a good game. So a lot of people in the Pokemon community are upset at that they're getting a lot of praise and they feel like it's taken from Pokemon. But what I want to say this to the Pokemon community and being a part of it is this. Your frustrations and your issues are not with Palworld or its creators. That's not where your fight is. Your fight is with Nintendo, with Game Freak, and the Pokemon Company. Those are the three companies that you have frustrations for because they've given you video games that hasn't made you feel the way that you want to feel, that Palworld is making everybody else feel right now, that everybody's loving this game and it's getting all this reverence and it's getting all this attention. You want Pokemon to get that because you've been playing Pokemon, you love Pokemon, that's like your team, right? To relate it to sports is Pokemon's like your team. And yes, it is the top selling IP, but the last few video games they've been giving you guys have not really liked them like that, and they haven't gone mainstream. Pokemon has a big niche, but it's this thing, and this Palworld is now taking over everything, and it's getting a lot of praise. And you're upset that Nintendo gave you a bad game. Don't take it out on Palworld. Don't try to shut Palworld down because Nintendo gave you a bad video game. That's it. They gave you a bad game, you need to be mad at them. Stop trying to come after other companies and be mad at them because they're trying to give you something that you actually want, or a game that you could actually enjoy playing and have some fun, and not have to look the other way because you see graphical errors, you see issues, you see stuttering, you see popping ins and all this other stuff. So that's my thing to the Pokemon community, is open your mind and refocus this issue. And it's not with Palworld, it's with the Nintendo, it's with the Pokemon Company, it's with Game Freak. These are the people you need to be talking to. They're the one who gave you a bad product, and that's why you're upset. Don't be upset at Palworld.
It's a huge problem if a person can generate art based off of somebody else's work and then sell it for their own profit. Well, whenever you use the word based off of, I think that that is a large spectrum, and inside of that spectrum, I think that there is an acceptable level. You say based off of. What do you mean by based off of?
Yeah, because when you say based off of, you look at this and say, okay, based off of is, yes, that means I took something that was created and I made a anime that was like Dragon Ball Z. I took Dragon Ball Z as my reference and I made something completely new. Will there be similarities to it? Sure. But what I did was I changed certain aspects and I created different avenues. Even though the base of where I started from was looking at Dragon Ball Z, but I changed it and did different things to it and created something new. There can be similarities to it. There could be things that are direct simulations. But it is still saying, when you say something is based off, like, oh yeah, it's like Palworld is based off. They took Pokemon as their base. Yes, they looked at Pokemon and they went from there and created these monsters from that. Is there anything wrong with that? No, they just took those ideas and they did that. Now people want to talk about these different assets and all this crap. Like people don't care about that, man. People don't care about asset flipping. People don't care about none of that type of stuff. People just want to play something that's good. They want to play something that's fun, and it's okay. You can see where Pokemon was heavily influenced on this game. There's no doubt about that, but people obviously don't care. That's why it's one of the top played games right now.
There's one thing I wanted to ask for some years. I'm writing about games. Vast majority don't care about games or developed unethically. It feels like some people are attached to the customer is always right mentality, that they despise that people make the things they love. It's very strange that they despise the people that make the things they love. No. They don't despise the people that make the things they love. They just want to play a game that's good.
That's it. That's it. And so a lot of these people are people who play Pokemon and they just want Pokemon to be the top monster taming game. And so now that they see that this game is getting all this hype, they're getting worried. Well, if the Pokemon Company and Nintendo was giving you a good product, you would have that to battle. What are you going to battle with Palworld? Are you going to bring Scarlet and Violet up here and talk about, oh yeah, that's what like I said earlier. Your issue is not with Palworld. Stop trying to make these political views. Stop trying to make all these things about unethical and all this other stuff. At the end of the day, you're mad at Nintendo. Be mad at Nintendo. Be mad at the Pokemon Company because they're the ones that's doing this to you. They're the ones that came out with a game that no one cares about and everybody memed to hell. They're the ones who did that and never fixed it. So that's why when I look at this and I look at everybody, like everybody's trying to, or not everybody, but a lot of people trying to talk bad about Palworld, I'm just like, this is because you guys are hurt. You are mad that you had a bad game and you've had to have bad games for the last few years. And so now you're trying to take it out on another good game. And instead of you getting off your high horse and trying that good game and have a good time with it, you're trying to break it down and say, oh, we should not support this, or this is wrong because they're stealing art, and coming up with every excuse in the book. Just play the game and have fun, or don't play the game. and be quiet. Stop trying to make everybody seem like, oh, there's all these millions of things wrong with the game. Just play it or not and shut up.
They just want to play the game. Like, it's not, that's it. That's literally, that's the end of it. They don't care what happens to you. Like, it's just, what are you talking about? That's it. It's not that deep, bro. Yeah, it's not that deep. It's transactional. Yeah. What is this? Suddenly it's not a problem because, haha, funny Pokemon game. Something like this is finding success, normalizes the use in the industry. So if you're against AI, it's time to back that up. Well, you're not really going to do that though, right?
I want to read that post of that Twitter thing. It says, heads up to anyone thinking of supporting / playing Palworld who also cares about Gen AI issues. The CEO of the studio is full speed ahead on generative AI, frequently promotes it and tries to push it to use in studio. Even made a game focus entirely around it using SD. Again, it doesn't matter. Using AI, let's just not get stuck on that. That's the thing I don't want these people to get stuck on. Don't get stuck on using AI. There's no point about trying to fight it because it's here. Okay, it's here, it's coming, it's going to be here going forward. You're going to see it. So stop trying to be like this purist and everything has to be made and done by humans. If you're using a smartphone, if you're using a calculator, if you're using, ChatGPT, you're using all these other things, you're going to be using these tools going forward. You're already using a smartphone, you're already using a calculator. Those are things that are taking processes that we used to do by hand and are making it easier and more convenient for you so you don't have to go do things. That's why we have the internet, so you don't have to go to a library and go read things. So now you can just Google things. So I'm just trying to get off of that whole point of trying to make this like an AI art issue and AI creating this. It's really not a big problem. And that's the thing, man. These Pokemon people are really trying to find all different types of ways and say, well, the artist. They don't really care about the artist. You need to talk to Nintendo about giving you a bad game. That's what it is, man. And I was upset too. I was upset with Scarlet and Violet. I did not like what they gave us. I thought that game was definitely not one of their best, and I was upset, and I thought they would fix it. They never did. I didn't like any of that, and I really hope that this next game really hits it out of the park because they need it. The Pokemon is really in need of something new and fantastic, and not things that are skimping and things like that. And I just don't think Nintendo has the hardware to do it. And I think as games are getting better, as you're seeing games come out for PC, Xbox and PlayStation, you're seeing games, everything's getting better and everything's getting stronger, and Nintendo is 2 generations behind. They're going to need to get better. That's the problem. Nintendo is just not providing like the Pokemon Company or Game Freak with a good hardware to get to the next level. That's their problem. And I've had this issue with some of my friends. I've had this talk about Nintendo, and what I thought about Nintendo is the one thing I can say, and this is a side note, is that mobile gaming has gotten very powerful, and you got iPhones running Resident Evil 4 and all these other things, remake, is these games, mobile gaming is even getting bigger and even getting better, and Nintendo is going to have to understand that you need to do both. You're going to need to do cute and cuddly and all these fun games that everybody's going to be fun and have a good time with, but you're also going to have to be able to contend, because at some point there's PlayStations and Xbox and PC are going to take up too much of the market. You're not going to have a space for it. Is there always going to be space for Mario and Pokemon and things like that? That's only dependent on what people think about these games going forward. Is Nintendo just going to be kid game only and they're never going to have Call of Duties, and all these other big name games on there? We'll see. But as mobile gaming is becoming bigger and becoming a better thing, people are going to say to themselves, well, why would I get a Switch when I already have a phone that can play that same game? Why would I even need to buy a Switch if I can just connect my Xbox controller to my phone and just play my phone game that has the very same game that would be on Nintendo is going to be on my phone? You see what I'm saying? So I don't know.
They still can't explain how Palworld is taking money from Pokemon artists? Oh, they absolutely are. Absolutely, people are supporting this game and not buying Pokemon because of it. And to the extent that this game exists, Pokemon will sell less games. That's what happens in a free market. Do you think Pokemon has a fucking... They have the right to own the idea of having cartoon-like characters in a video game that you can capture? This is insane.
They don't.
How is...
And that's the thing. is that a lot of people in the Pokemon community feel like because Pokemon is the behemoth that no one can create anything and create competition. Does Palworld actually create that different type of, I mean, it's not trying to be Pokemon. It has Pokemon elements in a game that's trying to do something else. And see, Pokemon wants to do its own Pokemon thing, and that's what it's doing. And Palworld's taking the good things about Pokemon and threw it into their world. There's nothing wrong with that. And so, and I agree. I mean, yeah, I mean, some people aren't going to make money on it. And will some people not buy Pokemon games from this? I don't know about that. I still think people are going to buy Pokemon games because people love Pokemon. I know I'm still going to buy every game. But I'm just saying, will some people not buy Pokemon games because this game exists? Sure. But I think more people are still going to be buying Pokemon regardless, unless this game just keeps growing, and then when the new Pokemon comes out and they're still doing things, and yes, some people may not make the switch. Some people may still play this and just invest in this game. It just depends. But see, again, this is definitely, I'm gonna tell you guys right now, Nintendo has already had a meeting, or if they haven't done it, they're gonna be having a meeting this week about this game. If they didn't do it before, it's happening now, and they're gonna be talking about this game and their game going forward. Mark my words, it's happening. If it hasn't already happened now. If they didn't have some kind of emergency meeting over the weekend, they probably didn't. But come tomorrow, they're going to be talking about Palworld at the Pokemon offices. I can guarantee it.
A lot of people have been really upset about Palworld. And as I've said before, is that the problems that people have with AI are all fake. They don't really care about these issues. They are fake problems that people that have no problems in real life create on the internet in order to feel like their life has some sort of meaning or purpose. These things don't matter to any real person. They are all just a virtue signal. And the average customer is right as a collective. And if the market says yes, no internet tastemaker is in their right mind able to say no.
And that's it, because at the end of the day, man, like, everybody's liking it. So what can you say to that? You can't really argue against it. They love the game. People are playing it. It's having a lot of people are buying it. So you can't really say anything bad about that. They've been providing us with a good game. So you just have to just sit there and just take it. And again, you have to understand, man, like, as a Pokemon fan, I want to see the game get better. And at the end of the day, Pokemon is just, they haven't been delivering to their potential, because it is a beloved franchise and an IP that they have to understand that Pokemon needs to evolve, okay? The whole thing. And the only way it can actually progress is if Nintendo gives them the tools to do it. The Pokemon company, or rather Game Freak, doesn't have the hardware to do it. And that's the problem. So this is a Nintendo problem. This is who really needs to fix this. How we got into AI and trying to take people's jobs, that's just trying to take that, like how he says, like the virtue signal, like you're just trying to take this, oh well, the it's AI generated, so we have to get mad at that because now real people, they're copying real people's work and put it into a computer and it's feeding out this and all this other stuff. We're making this way too complicated. It's trying to defend Nintendo over this crap. That's it. When I look at this, the first thing I say is, look, we have to look inside and be like, okay, look, we're mad that Scarlet and Violet was the way that it is. That's just how we just get to it. We're just mad at that. So let's redirect our issues and our concerns to Nintendo so they can give us a better game. So they can give us a system that we can actually have internet that actually works, that we can actually play with our friends online in a good online infrastructure. That's what we want. We have Nintendo frustrations. Nintendo is outdated. They've been outdated for a long time, and we cannot keep letting them slide with this, oh, but they make great games thing. You need to do both now. And in today's era, you're making great games and they look great. They run great. Your system runs great. You got to have good online. These things are becoming more of an issue. Now, if Nintendo always just wants to redirect themselves, or not redirect, but just say, appealing to 10-year-olds, and that's what they're going to get. And that's why all of us who've been playing Pokemon since the very beginning are always going to be trashing the game, talking about it's too easy, I gotta Nuzlocke and do all these extra things to make it tougher. That's what you're going to get, because the Pokemon company is set in their ways. They don't want to innovate. That's their problem. They don't want to make the game harder. They don't want to give you a hard mode. They don't want to do all that stuff, but they're aware of it. They're aware that people want to do these things. They're aware that people have been Nuzlocking and making the game challenging. They're aware of all these things. They're aware of the fan remakes. They're aware of the fan-made games. They're aware of all these things. But what do you think that means to them? They don't care. They literally do not care. So that's why they're giving us things like Scarlet and Violet. So we're sitting here trying to make this like a big deal about AI and ripping people off and people losing money. At the end of the day, AI is going to be taking over a lot of people's jobs going forward. Totally different subject. But let's just go to this point. Don't make this a big deal about you're going to be loyal to Pokemon. You're not being disloyal by trying this game. Try the damn game. That's just it. Palworld's a great game. Don't take my word for it. You can look it up online. You can see it. I'm sure you've heard about the game, and this is why you're watching this video in the first place. Just being a person who's played Pokemon, I haven't been satisfied with the game that they've been giving us lately, as far as overall. I mean, there's some fun to be had with them, but I mean, I definitely feel like they've been holding the genre back and holding the IP back, holding Pokemon back, and they need to make a better game. And so, playing Palworld has been fun. It's been amazing. I've been enjoying it, and I'm gonna continue to play it. I'm not really trying to make this a Palworld versus Pokemon thing, because both can exist and both can be fun, and we can have both. And Nintendo needs competition. I hope that this game continues, Palworld. I hope it continues to get updates and gets better over time, so that puts a fire in Nintendo and lets the Pokemon Company and Game Freak all know that there's people want to play a fun game. They want to play a fun monster taming game, and if this game already has a lot of hype around it, so they just really have to just change their outlook on that, man. And Nintendo needs to step up. They need to start to understand that you have Pokemon that has a bunch of potential. And I'll just make this one statement right here. I'll leave it with this. Pokemon is an MMO. At the end of the day, it is an MMO experience, and Nintendo will not be able to provide a Pokemon MMO experience to the community. That's what it needs. I don't care however we get through this way. If you want to call it a single player game, you go through all this. At the end of the day, Pokemon is an MMO, and that's what they need to create. Nintendo should be trying to figure out what they're going to do, what system they're going to make to where Pokemon can flourish. That's what they're going to need. They need to make an MMO. And the second that they make an MMO Pokemon is when they're going to blow the gaming world out of water. But until they do that, that's what they're going to get. You're going to get these Scarlet and Violets. You're going to get all these other games where people are just going to be ragging on them and things like that because they're playing on the Nintendo Switch. So Nintendo needs to fix that. There's no need to stop playing Palworld or to try to bag on Palworld and try to make this a artist creator issue and AI is bad. That is just all irrelevant stuff. Just complaining. Complain to the right people, which is Nintendo. So all I'm gonna say is this, man. Just try the game out. If you haven't tried it, try it. If you tried it, you're liking it, or you don't like it, and that's fine. But just don't not try something just because you're trying to be loyal to Pokemon, because they don't care about you. Because if they did, you wouldn't have Scarlet and Violet. So it is what it is, man. So all right. So if you made it to the part of this video, man, I appreciate that, man. Hey, I'll catch you guys on the next one.